everyone. Welcome to Work Love Wednesday. Sam Smeltzer here for Work Love Wednesday. It is time for Work Love Wednesday. Hi Instagram, hi Facebook. It is Wednesday, so it is time for some work love. Yes, it is. My goodness. There is sunshine coming in from the blinds, but I don't want to make it go away because it's sunshine and it's been cold and dreary and gross. And sunshine is good, but I guess it's very distracting. So hold on a second. Ugh. Well, try the other side. These cameras are in reverse. That's a little better. Oh, now there's lines on my face. Let's see. Yeah. I don't want to close it. I like the sunshine. But okay. There's still lines. There's still lines. It's all right. Anyways. Yeah. So it's Wednesday. It's time for Work Love. I'm not going to lie. I'm struggling a little bit this morning. I did not sleep really well last night. And I think today's topics are going to maybe shed some light on that. I think that they're all kind of closely related. This week has been filled with some heavy stuff that has reflections filled with it. And I think that kind of all comes to a head, and then it starts to affect your sleeping patterns if you're not processing. So we'll hope that today is going to help me process those things. Oh my gosh, let me see if this blind shut. We'll get rid of these lines here. No. I don't know where the lines are coming from. I'm gonna have to get blinds. Oh, there we go. Ha success. Hee So yeah, as I was saying, there's a lot of things that have been coming up. Kind of came in like a whirlwind, and being able to process them, I think all ties in very closely together for why it came to a head last night, and I really didn't sleep very well. So much so that I have bypassed my morning celery juice and I'm drinking coffee. And then sent around. I also had the intention of getting up to run, which couldn't happen because I got to join all of you at 7:45 in the morning, and I'm committed and holding myself accountable to this. So I'm going to run later on. Maybe it will get warmer and I can run outside because that would be amazing. But after I finish this, I'm going to take Maddie to school, and then I'm going to do my daily Qigong practice, which will give me the chi that I need and restore me back. So it's all going to be good. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be an awesome day. So today's topic is talking about true potential and true possibility. So there's a couple things that had happened this week that really started to lay the foundation for this. And I guess one that I think is really key and important is a conversation that I actually had with Tony Hernandez yesterday after lunch. So I wonder if Tony, if you watch these things, hop in and say hello so that people know who you are, and tag Reflective Wisdom or tag some of your workshops so people know, because I always share this wisdom from Reflective Wisdom that you have, and so that people can do that. And in fact, I'll probably end up tagging you later on anyways. But well, we were having lunch at the office, which is sometimes a rarity, but I guess I think we have like a calming before the really busy April, which is why we've been able to do that together. More so because we got to have lunch last week too, which was amazing. But as we were talking, he was sharing about he's getting ready to go out to California next week to facilitate a trainer certification program for the Points of View product, which if you have not heard of that, you definitely want to check it out. See, Tony, if you're watching Unplugging, you should totally tag this in the comments because people are seeing that. But the dynamics of these train the trainers certifications are really fascinating from a bunch of different levels. Number one is that they're global, so they're all over the world. They take a lot of time and care in all the programming, as far as you submit profiles when you apply to be a trainer. They specifically pair you up so that they can maximize your learning. To me, when I listened to him talk, I told him that everything I hear is just layers and layers and layers of discomfort. And I've kind of, when I first met Tony, we can joke about this now, but I really felt this like competitive need as a small business owner that he had this amazing product and I have to somehow beat him at building his business on this. And so initially my desire to want to get certified was to basically be a competitor to Tony. That changed because Tony is an amazing friend. He's a master facilitator with the tool. And there's so much work to go around and do. It makes more sense to have us both focus on our specialty niches and letting us really flourish and thrive in those scenarios. And so that's exactly what we do. But looking at the training certification, it still fascinates me because of the layers of discomfort. Because if you know anything about adult learning theory, or if you have done any personal professional development work yourself, you know that the level of discomfort is directly associated with how much growth you're going to experience. And so for me, being on this journey for, going in year 5 of some really heavy personal and professional development piece that I've been hitting all kinds of aspects, talking about, from heart to heart's probably the most vulnerable I've been, putting a book out there that can be accessible to anybody, talking about things that I've only ever felt and discussed in my mind, in my heart. Some things that I've never verbally articulated, I put in writing form there. It was a very healing process for me. It was also very, very uncomfortable, and having to push through that and be okay with it. And knowing now, coming on the other side, feeling the growth as a result of going through that. And so looking at this training scenario, looking at the purposeful, intentional layers of discomfort that are placed, and knowing myself, knowing the level of discomfort that would be there, made me realize that, wow, what could possibly happen from this 4 or 5 day training that I would go to? Besides the fact of starting down a path of becoming a certified trainer for this tool, but what could really be unlocked when that happens? And Tony definitely was like, as someone who has been to them, says there's definitely unlocking that happens. There's unlocking that happened for him. And he shares a lot of that when he comes back. And so that really started this question about discomfort. And it's interesting because my relationship with things that make me uncomfortable and provide discomfort has really changed over the last year, probably progressively over the last couple of years. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Anyways, my relationship has changed because I used to be in a place where fear really ruled my life. I was afraid, I'd probably even say terrified of so many things. And discomfort was the sign or symptom that really guided me on whether or not I wanted to go down a specific avenue. And in fact, I created these really safe spaces for myself, and that's where I hung out, whether that is relationship-wise, whether that is physical space-wise, so becoming a homebody, limiting where I travel and what those travel plans are. But I really, truly put physical strict boundaries in place so that I could function and limit the amount of discomfort. And that's really how I had functioned for most of my life. And that is truly living out of fear. Over the last few years, I've kind of embraced this philosophy of following the fear and getting curious about it as a source of identifying what next thing I need to heal, what next piece I need to go after. And there's lots of them out there. They're around you all the time. I was just talking to somebody yesterday. When I was in my Qigong training, my teacher said something just randomly throughout the conversation that he believes that there's only two true emotions out there, which I think is right on point and resonates really strongly with me from where my journey has been up to now. Is we either come from a place of fear or a place of love. And when we take any emotion out there and we start to peel back the layers, at the base of it will either be fear or love. And when we function from a place of love, we're functioning from a higher connection, a higher purpose. That's when we feel that meaningful work that a lot of us who are passionate professionals are yearning to see. And if you're not a passionate professional in the work environment, you're passionate about something, but that's when those things come alive. That's when that meaning in your life resonates. It's when you're functioning from a place of love. When you're functioning from a place of fear, it comes from your small self, your ego. It's the place in your mindset that wants to tell you that there's limitations and things that you can't do. And so it's really fascinating to me that both do go back to those root causes. And so no matter what scenario I'm in, how I am feeling and reacting, when I'm taking accountability for what's happening to me, I can really take that back and realize that it's coming from a place of love or a place of fear. And so for most of my life, I have functioned from fear. I have functioned from fear of what could happen. And so that would limit my decisions on going out or engaging and experiencing life, from not taking certain risks, from not taking care of my body. All those things were from a true place of fear. Taking drinking alcohol, things like that, or numbing sensations so that I didn't have to feel being afraid, and rather living in this constant numbing state. Same thing we talk about, it's all over the place, people with their cleansing, the whole whole foods aspect of it. Food is another thing that we put into our body to impact how we feel. The more processed that the food is, it's processed with ingredients that causes a numbing sensation, similar to alcohol. It's just one that we can do during the day when we're not allowed to have alcohol in the work environment. And so we do those things out of a place of fear. And as someone who has spent 30 plus years functioning from fear, I now see that I'm trying to undo it all, or not undo it all, but learn from it and get stronger, and more so reposition myself to start functioning from a place of love. And I've seen the difference. Public speaking is a great example of this. I would never say that I don't know if I want to say I'm a strong public speaker. I love speaking, but I've been terrified of it my entire life. However, doing speaking, I've noticed a completely different person when I've gone up there and I'm terrified versus when I'm functioning from a place of love, when I'm doing it in alignment with why I'm showing up, why I want to share my message. And so I've done a lot of work recently with repositioning my brand to ensure that I am speaking on a message that's meaningful for me. Because when I was speaking on things that didn't mean anything, it was very easy to default to a place of fear, and which means that the delivery was not as strong in the speaking engagement. And so fear and love are real, and they're there every single day. They're there, and when we're making relationships, when we're making decisions, as somebody in the human resource field, I see it all the time because I'm a people watcher, I'm a people developer, I'm a people researcher, and watching it in the work environment, you'll see people every day functioning from a place of love and a place of fear. And so, taking this idea of the level of discomfort that you have available to you out there, and whether we run from it or we embrace it, and having that filled with the potential of growth that can happen, and then layering that on top of living a life really centered around fear and not so much about love, and really struggling to get to that place of love. These were two things that were really massive kind of reflections for me. And they kind of came to a head yesterday when I had two very distinct interactions and experiences. Number one, and this is not like every business experiences this, but having no shows for appointments. When you have a no-show for an appointment, it happens for a variety of different reasons. And the work that I do, there is a lot of fear associated with choosing to work on yourself, choosing to begin the process of exposing whatever may be holding you back from reaching your true professional potential, or even unlocking that passion again. People who are typically lost remember being passionate about their work and no longer having that, how that connection kind of goes together. And so there's fear around that. And so even though it's really one step to say yes to the opportunity to start the healing process, I fully recognize that it's a whole nother ballgame to show up to start that work. And so it happens in my business that I have people who cancel at the last minute. I have people who just don't show up and I don't hear from them again. And sometimes I don't hear from them for several months and then they reappear. And I just have to trust that whatever interaction that we had together was what was needed for them at that time, and that whoever they're meant to work with or resources they're supposed to go to, that's how their path kind of unfolded. But that doesn't change the fact that you have some really big fears that start resonating, as far as maybe I'm not good at what I do. Who am I to be coaching people or doing this kind of work? Maybe I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, or maybe people don't like you. All those things start bubbling up. And sometimes they go to a very heavy kind of downward spiral of wanting me to say, I'm done. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to my physical safe space, go back to living a true sense of a fear-based life of, if I live in my little bubble, you can't hurt me, you can't impact me, and I'm going to try to control as many elements as I want. And doing that, when I choose to try to control everything, I'm functioning from a place of ego, or what Colette Baron Reid likes to refer to as small self, which I really like that imagery. Thinking that I am the one who can do everything, and not relying on this higher calling or purpose or meaning for ourselves. It's almost reverting back to this concept that life is just this little tiny thing, and that's all that's to it, is we are born and then we live every day dying a little bit each single day, and that's what life is. And if that's your philosophy, that's your philosophy. That's not what I believe. That's not what resonates with me. I truly believe that all of us come into this world to serve a specific purpose that's going to make the world a better place. Our purpose is different on every scale. Some of us have to, or I shouldn't have to, but we'll do things for the masses. And some of us will do things for one or two people. And some of that is giving birth and raising children who are going to grow up and change the world. Some of us are spouses or best friends, or have relationships, or mentor somebody who's going to change the world. But they wouldn't be able to do that if you didn't show up. And then the question asked is, who are you not showing up for because you're so focused on living with your small self, living on this fear-based life? And so yesterday, I had this moment that happened in a meeting where they were talking about people's potential and possibility of really making a difference. And it really came down to literal financial abundance and financial resources that people have. And that is the difference that people make. And if you followed anything in my podcast or have looked at things from way back beyond, you'll know that my relationship with money is not healthy. It's probably one of the things that if I can, I lock it up in a nice little box and I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. It's one of the reasons why I married my husband, because he deals with all that money stuff and I only have to get involved when I have to. At the business, it's isolated, where I only have to hear about it when it gets to a certain aspect that I have to make decisions in my position. But for the most part, Mary Rose has that background and she takes that and runs that in conjunction with Josh, and they help make those at least beginning conversations. And so when talking about that, the only way that somebody can make a difference is by having the right amount of financial resources. It's a huge triggering point for me. At the same token, money has never been a motivator for me. So it's always been cool to get paid for what I do. It's always been nice to get compensated when I was working out in the corporate environment and what those benefits were. But I was never driven by that dollar figure. In fact, whenever I would apply for jobs, I never really had a concept of what I thought I was worth financially. I was just so obsessed with the idea of what I could offer and the difference that I can make for the people within the organization. And that's what I was looking at. I was looking at what is the culture, what is the base of the culture, and what is the potential that I really have to make a difference there. Because where I get the greatest source of satisfaction is the differences that I make, the impact that I make. Whether people can connect that or not back to me, I know when I start laying the seeds for those kinds of things. And that's what really feeds me. But I found myself yesterday really focused on this conversation about financial resources linked to potential, and listening with a whole new set of ears and taking it in on, if I had, this much more money, what else could I do? And that really stuck with me. I remember yesterday I got in the car, I'm like driving, and it just kept coming up. Like, what if I had this amount of money? What else could I do? And not personally, but like impact wise, how would that magnify it? And in fact, a lot of the times when I make sales goals for Leadership Arts Associates, that's what's in my head. It's not so much more, what do I make from it? It's, well, how many more resources do we get within Leadership Arts Associates that we get to help others, that allows us to even have more of a powerful mission? When we're talking about strategy and integrating online classes or something like that, it's always thinking about reach. Like, how do I maximize my reach? And for some reason, this put me in a place where I realized that I've been functioning more so from my small self than I thought. I know that I'm on a path of growth. I know that I'm still working on myself, but I realized in that moment that I still was seeing things so small and thinking that the journey was like this big, and I was like on my way and making my progress and getting there. And that's not the case. It is probably this big. It's so massive. And the potential and the possibility of what I can achieve or what I can do and what I have to offer is not so small as what I thought it was. And I think that possibly could be the case for many of us. And so I ask you, where is fear really living and controlling and guiding your life right now? Where is fear holding you back? and not allowing you to function from a place of love. And if you were functioning from a place of love, where would you want to have that impact? Who do you really want to invest in and create this long-lasting difference that's going to shift the entire perspective of possibly a generation? And we've seen that. I mean, the diversity work that I look into, and the part that I'm really fascinated with is how stereotypes, racial conversations, how are those things passed down to the next generation? And a lot of it is nonverbal. A lot of it is us not intentionally knowing any better, but because we won't embrace and heal our places of discomfort, we are communicating them nonverbally down to our children, communicating them nonverbally to children that we have exposure to and access to. And so even when we're not physically doing something, or we're intentionally doing something, our unconscious selves are communicating to the world around us. And so every day when you show up, wherever you show up in your environment, you're sending ripples. And it's on us to kind of take ownership of what ripples are we sending? What ripples are we putting out there into the world? And I know that I personally am getting real about where am I afraid, and how is that fear impacting others? How is fear impacting my children when they want to do something and I am holding them back because I'm afraid? I'm afraid of going to a place because it's putting me out of my comfort zone, when there's not any actual physical threats or fears there, but I am afraid of I don't know, of this great unknown that's out there. Am I holding them back from their potential and possibility right now at the ages of 7 and 4? So today, look around and think about, where is fear holding you back rather than a place of love? And what would it look like? And what does it look like for you when you function from a place of love? Where do you know you show up at your best? Because I guarantee when you feel like you're at your best, you're functioning from a place of love. So last thing, I mentioned how I had no shows yesterday. And I said that that comes from a place of me really understanding and knowing that it is scary to, number one, admit that you have work to do, but number two, the unknown of what that path will look like for you, because it manifests in so many different ways. There's so many different types of healing that we need. One of the passions that I've had in the last year that is really, it brings me so much joy to offer to the world, is doing energy work, doing Reiki, and integrating that with some of the things that have naturally become intuitive for me. And so I will extend a very special invitation. If anyone who is watching this that is local to the area, who's local to York, Pennsylvania, our office is based on North George Street. And if you are interested, watching this email, you can see Allie hanging out in the back. You can reach out. You can email me. I'll put my email in the comments areas. Or you can call the office at 717-430-2850 and schedule an energy session on me. So all you have to do is schedule the session, and when you show up, tell me that you're here because you watched this Work Love Wednesday episode, and it will be on me. Just to expose you to something else that will put you in a place of discomfort and see what possibility can possibly happen as it. All right? So enjoy your Wednesday. Have a great week. Thank you to everyone who tuned in live. And for those of you watching later on, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys later.